It is March the 19th, 2021. I'm Andy, and this is the Minorcan Mullet Report from the Golden Ray Rec site in the St.simons Sound. We made it out today. It was a pretty quiet day. It was a maintenance day out on the site. Let me show you what we saw. Now back on section 7, which is where we understand they're going to go after they get set to cut again, we could look through and we could just see the chain through the cut here. So we think that the chain is back in place and maybe it is ready for them when they get to the point where they get the VB back in service. We saw today when we got out there that the west side spreader bar, the entire system was lowered down onto the deck, and it looked like they had some maintenance going on there on some of the blocks and inspecting them. We could see an aerial lift with personnel in it, and it looked like they were servicing some of the blocks, inspecting those things, getting them ready for the next lift, which we are assuming is going to be section 7. That, of course, that's the section that they were working on, had so many problems, left there, went back to the bow to section 2 and started working there. But from what we've been told from Unified Command, they're going to go back to 7 and work on that one next. Hopefully get that cut made complete and out of there. If you remember, it looked like they were not quite 50% done with the cut. Apparently some of that structure that's just inside around that engine has just really been more than what they had originally planned on, and the salvers are having a lot of time getting through that portion of the wreck. But hopefully they'll have some better luck this time. Maybe they've got some reconfiguring going on there, and we'll find some success in cutting through that material and get on through and get that section up and get it loaded up and out of here. Riding through, it was obvious that it was a slow day. Nothing really going on other than maintenance issues. We could see the barge that we've typically seen after the VB has finished a cut was back underneath the arches, back underneath the structure there, and of course the blocks were lower down on it for the spreader bar, but we see that equipment being used. So they're back. This is just the normal activity that we've seen going on in the past around the VB while this downtime, if you will, is going on in between cuts. Another thing we noticed, it looked like not only was the VB being serviced, but the Weeks 533 crane, there was an aerial lift that was over there, and it looked like some personnel were on that again, maybe doing some inspections or possibly maintenance on this crane during this downtime. But a really good time to go ahead and take care of those issues while the site was kind of quiet. Weather there today was awesome. We had a little bit of a blow yesterday with the front that slid through. We didn't get the terrible weather that we thought we were going to get, but today turned out to be pretty pleasant. The winds died down in the afternoon, and it was just a beautiful day in coastal Georgia. And we got a shot of the ship here coming up, and you can really see how it's beginning to shorten up as the sections are starting to come off of it. Now over in the Port of Brunswick, we went over there for a little bit, and we could see that crews were busy. Here we got some guys that are up on that cradle, and they're welding the ship to the cradle to sea fasten it, getting it ready for the trip. We saw this tanker that was alongside, and we think this is a Moran Environmental recovery vessel, and what we think this trailer is doing is getting the oil. That stuff is being pumped up that was on the deck. They're sucking that stuff up, pumping it up into these containers so they can be trucked away. Crews were busy today moving equipment back and forth from the port, from the dock of the port there onto the crane. We saw pumps, cutting equipment, gas bottles for the acetylene torch systems, that stuff being pulled over from the port and then placed onto the barge for these crews to access while all this activity is going on for the sea fastening in anticipation of that trip over to the Gulf of Mexico and eventually around to Gibson, Louisiana, where these sections have been pulled by tugboats over for the further processing and scrapping at the Mars facility there in Gibson, Louisiana. Well, we got some shots coming up of some other things we saw there today while we were there. Some more pictures of some of the vehicles that were inside the Golden Ray. You can make out different types of vehicles, styles. Some of them you actually see the colors of them, the ones that weren't submerged. And just crazy sight to see all this jumbled just mash of stuff, of cars. And you can understand just how difficult of a job it is to move this stuff around, to get it ready for that trip to Gibson. And some of the stuff we saw is just really just looks like it's barely hanging on. And we're pretty sure that this material is going to have these vehicles, and the material that's broken is going to have to be secured before it can leave. The chance of maybe getting in the weather or something on the way over, it's got to loom in the heads of the guys that are taking care of this. You don't want any of this stuff falling down and becoming a hazard during that transport. And one other thing we saw today was Mr. Ed, the dive boat that we've seen so active around the ship. It looked like it was up for maintenance today. We saw some crews there working on the propulsion units on the outboards of the Mr. Ed dive boat. And this last parting shot has got to be one you got to appreciate. This was going over onto one of the supply barges, and yeah, the necessary privies. Hey, that's about all the time we've got for today. Hey, want to really thank you guys that have subscribed, and we're going to ask that if you haven't done it, click the subscribe button. Send us some comments, and most of all, we want you guys to stay safe out there.